Interesting you say it's the same group that is falling for this, because those people went into lockdowns and COVID mandates and so on, jab mandates, not knowing what the downsides were. Now, the downside of the 20-minute city that they're not really very explicitly being told about is that these borders may well be enforceable. Why aren't we being told that as part of the sort of the marketing of all this?
Well, because that's not pretty, is it? When you're telling people that they're about to be controlled again after being controlled for 2.5 years, I mean, a lot of people woke up from the COVID experience. And so it's going to be a much harder sell this time around. I don't know that as many people are going to be jumping on board some of these platitudes and this pretty language that they're trying to wrap around 15-minute, 20-minute cities. So it just isn't marketable enough. So what they're going to do is talk about, things like livability and legibility and climate, saving the planet. And they're going to wrap around a lot of urban planning and design platitudes around it. But it won't work as well this time, I don't believe. But then again, I could be absolutely wrong about that, because I was absolutely wrong about how many people would comply in 2020.
Well, here's something that we that can't be denied, and that is one of the common ideas of our time, the myths of our time, is that human activity is essentially destructive. I think this is simply an extension. 20-minute cities are just an extension of that idea, and what the ultimate aim is to restrict people from simply doing things. Don't you agree?
Oh, look, I absolutely agree with that. And don't forget that we already have 15-minute cities. They're called villages and they're called towns. So we're really talking here, if we're to be really realistic, because these urban planning designs and concepts have been around, as you pointed out earlier, for decades and decades. What we're really talking about is the very, very large cities in the world, cities like Barcelona and Melbourne and Paris and Buenos Aires. And these are the cities that are putting their hands up to jump on board with this concept. And these cities do have inherent issues within them and problems within them. But those problems have been caused not because of mobility and access to services. It's probably quite the opposite. So I think it's really ironic that they're talking about 15-minute cities and restricting mobility in areas where cities would actually benefit for greater access for the poorer and more socially disenfranchised parts of the population to access greater facilities and more areas and get greater transport, so they can travel more than 15 minutes into areas of, say, parts that are a little bit wealthier, that have more facilities, that have more economic growth, that have more jobs. So you want to be able to upskill and bring people out of poverty in some of these very large cities where poverty is a problem, and you're not going to do that by locking them down in their areas where they're already poor. So I still feel that this whole thing is such an oxymoron, and I do feel it's absolutely just another form of control and power.